Here's how you can make the most progress that you've ever made in your entire life. And I'll explain this using the gym. So I remember a few years back, I started going to the gym. I just trained push and pull like every other guy out there. And I kind of just neglected my legs. And one main reason was just because I didn't have the equipment because I was working at a home gym. But probably the bigger reason was just because I didn't want to do like Bulgarian split squats. And everyone knows that that is probably the most painful exercise out there. So that's why I did not train legs at all. And after like 1 or 2 years, my physique just looked so weird. It was like broad on the top and then just like twig legs. And I realized that if I wanted to like have an overall good image, I needed to like train legs. I needed to like focus on that. Because if I don't, it doesn't matter how developed my like shoulders or chest are. If I have skinny legs, when someone looks at you overall, you're just gonna look weird. And so that's what I did. I ended up training legs. Now it's like one of my, I wouldn't say favorite days, but it's definitely much better now that I had this realization. Now the reason I want to share this story with you is because this is exactly how you can make the most progress in your life that you've ever made. And it comes back to this idea of constraints. So what constraints basically means is the thing that's holding you back. And it's oftentimes the thing that's holding you back, which if you solve, it's going to lead to exponential growth. For example, in this case with the gym analogy, my constraint, the thing that was holding me back, was not my upper body in that case. Instead, it was my legs. So it doesn't matter if I just train more like upper body, if I train more chest, if I do more bench press and I get like a, an amazing shoulders or chest muscle, whatever. Like that doesn't matter because I'll still have skinny legs. And so the constraint here is not my upper body, it's my legs. And in fact, if I work on my upper body more than my legs, I'll just end up looking even more weird, even more like disproportional. So the constraint was my legs, and so I needed to address the constraint, and the solution to that was to train legs. Now, this sounds like a very simple example, but there's so many other examples in your life which are less and less obvious. Let's start with the school example. So in school, I oftentimes had like a few subjects that I was doing quite well in, for example, like English, science, or whatever, but I had one subject that I wasn't doing well in, for example, history. And so what I kind of just like naturally tended towards was I just spent more time on the subjects that I was getting good grades in because I just felt they were easier and I felt more reward doing them. And I spent less time doing the subject that I was worse at. But if you think about that, that's like so dumb. Like, why would you do that? It should be the reverse. You should be spending less time on the subjects you feel like good at and more time on the subjects that you are worse at. Because overall, you're not judged on a particular subject. You're judged on your overall grade. And so the constraint on my overall grade was the fact that there was a weak subject dragging my entire grade down. And I needed to address that rather than spending extra time on the subjects that I'm already good with. So the idea here is that if you want to make progress in your life, there's going to be key needle movers or key things that if you focus are going to lead to the most results that you've ever achieved. And oftentimes, these tasks aren't the things that feel easy. They're usually the things that we tend to avoid. For example, that could be legs for the gym analogy, or it could be the subject that you're quite bad at or the subject you hate in school. And if we just realize that this is the constraint and we actually just force ourselves to focus on it, that's how you achieve progress. And just to give like a personal example for me this year, like my goal is to really try and make it in like the creator economy. Right now I'm working as like a YouTube strategist for this YouTuber that has like 1 million subscribers. And I realized that if I want to actually improve like at like YouTube and everything, I needed not just information, because I could find information online. I needed access. That was my constraint. I already had all the information I needed, but I didn't have the access to the people that I could talk to. And what I realized is that if I could just like talk to particular experts in the YouTube industry, that would greatly accelerate my growth. It would be greatly faster than everything I was doing right now. And so I identified that as my constraint. And so that's what I'm focused on. That's the needle mover for my case. And so for the longest time, I didn't want to do it because it's uncomfortable reaching out to people. It's uncomfortable forming new relationships and going out of your comfort zone. But as we've discussed before, the constraint is oftentimes the thing that we don't want to do. But if you want to make the most progress that you've ever had in your life, you need to focus on the constraint, which is oftentimes the work that you're avoiding. So with that in mind, I wish you all the best.